So how did you get your customers when you were just, you're a young kid, teenager? So you obviously are not a retiring sort of guy. So how did you get your other customers? Dad dragged you over, you mowed one lawn, there you get $10. So how did you get your customers back then?
Yeah, so growing a residential lawn mowing business is one that if you do a good job, show up on time, you work hard, you'll grow through word of mouth. It's almost to as much work as you can handle. One of the hard things in that type of business is finding and keeping good employees to grow that type of business to just yourself, to maybe you and a helper, to multiple crews. So that was one of the challenges that I faced, was not necessarily finding enough work, because there was always work to be done. My company did good quality services, and so we had good word of mouth, but it was finding good help and keeping them and paying them well and growing the business in that fashion was one of the more challenging things. Fast forward about 5-6 years later, I had to reinvent that company from one that did just residential lawn mowing to one that really tackled the commercial space, restaurants, apartments, office complexes, things of that nature. Because in order to scale that type of company, you can't do it on $30 lawn mowings. You have to have these big 6-figure, sometimes 7-figure contracts in order to scale that type of business. But it's very hard to break into the commercial space because nobody really wants to take a chance on you. One thing that I was able to do was I knew somebody in one of the neighborhoods I mowed for that he was a franchiser of McDonald's. And I just begged him and begged him and begged him to let us have a chance at one of his restaurants. He wouldn't ever let me do it, but I started, he did let us take care of his personal residence. It wasn't after 5 years of mowing his personal residence that he said, okay, I'll tell you what, I'll let you have a shot at this one McDonald's restaurant that I have. And one thing that we did differently, I knew that we had to do something differently because this guy owned like 20 different McDonald's. One thing that we did differently was we picked up the cigarette butts in the drive-through every time that we mowed the yard there. And I told him, I said, hey, listen, we think that if we pick up the cigarette butts in the drive-through, that if somebody's sitting there in line to order their food, if they see a clean drive-through, they might be more willing to put an apple pie on or supersize the order. And I said, we're not just mowing your lawn here. We're really figuring out ways for your business to be more successful, be more profitable through a beautiful landscape. And that really resonated with him. He really liked the idea, and he gave us a shot at three more restaurants. And then before we knew it, after 2 or 3 years, we had all of his restaurants. And then he's introducing us to McDonald's corporate and other franchise holders. For 15 years, or 10 years later, McDonald's was still a client of that business up to the day I sold it. So the idea was, in order to develop customers and to acquire customers, we had to align what it is we were doing with their business goals. So how do we use our services to make your property look better to where you can sell more food, or if you're an apartment manager, have less of a vacancy rate, or things like that. We used to really align what it is we did with what their objectives were. And that was a business kind of philosophy that has carried me all the way to today, is how do we align whatever it is our value proposition is to whatever the wants and needs are of our target. And that's the simple thing that's always helped me with building my company.
So what you're doing is you're actually evaluating and going beyond what was expected.
Right.
Yeah.